I'm not so certain about my ideas. I'm still thinking, and I might be wrong about everything I said, and I'm sorry. And also, I might change my opinion later. So I just want to mention that whatever I said is not going to be forever. All right? Okay.
I have the same thing.
Like I
completely agree.
Right?
I feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I...
It's just a little disclaimer.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
What happened?
Nothing. I was squeaking against the chair.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Here we are with Aylin.
Hi, I'm back.
Just like that. Aylin is back. Here we are with Aylin again.
Special guest.
Yes, Aylin, I haven't seen you for like some time.
Yeah.
So what's up?
You know, working. I've been working.
You started a new job.
Yes. I started a new job. I'm starting... Okay, they might watch this. I'm not gonna...
It's okay.
I mean, they probably won't. I'm starting to get bored, so... We'll see how that goes.
I see. So you started the job,
yeah.
but you're already bored of the job you're doing.
A little bit.
What is your job? Because you're always up at night. And I'm curious,
because I'm
what
working...
kind of a job will keep you awake all the night?
One that's from America.
Okay.
That's one. So yeah,
that's a different job.
It finishes at 1, and I kind of like, I already didn't have a social... What? What are you saying? What? So...
You were just explaining what is the concept of your job.
The thing is that I didn't have a social life to begin with in the beginning. Like before my whole life pretty much, except like little periods. So now that every evening I'm stuck at home, it's even worse. Like if there was some hope for a social life, now it's like fully gone, you know? Because I just like, I wake up, I try to do all the stuff that I need to do during the day, and then I sit on my ass and I work up until everyone's sleeping. So I don't know if I like that or not, but we'll see how it goes.
So what is it you do? Can you disclose
administrative stuff, like, and social media.
Like what do you do?
Like I schedule things with clients and whatever, and I don't know, just arrange things.
And they're in America?
Yeah. Everyone's in America. So it's like lunch break. It's time for a lunch break, and it's like 9:30 p.m. Like, it's not my lunch.
It's not my fucking lunch break.
I want to sleep. So yeah. How have you been?
You see, great. I am doing great. I'm so peaceful these days. And
there's peace just radiating from you.
Yeah, right. Yes, just life, I've been working really hard these days. Yeah, and pretty much focus on my projects and works, to be honest. Nothing special.
Okay.
Meeting some people, preparing. I guess that this podcast itself kind of helped me to do things. I meet people, I talk to them because of the podcast.
Yeah,
that's a nice thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we move into today's topic?
Do you want to start? Do you want to tell them what are we going to talk about today?
What are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to talk about we decided to do like slightly more philosophical discussion for anyone who wants to just like listen to two people just go on and on and on about things, but we're going to try to kind of bring in some memories and things like that, make it fun. But we wanted to talk about freedom.
Yes, we want to talk about freedom.
Specifically because it's such a
concept. We're going to talk about freedom as a concept.
It's a very, as per usual, like you could write a whole thesis on just what freedom is. So we don't claim to be experts of freedom at all.
It's subjective,
I mean, but like, I'm not saying that like what we're going to say today is what the truth is or whatever. Like it's just a discussion. And specifically, we wanted to get into if freedom should ever be limited. So if there should be limitations on freedom, and maybe we can talk about what we both think freedom is, and then we can get into like the limitations aspect of it. Of course.
Right? So let me start with the first part, the first disagreement with you.
You already disagree?
Yeah, I mean you didn't even claim anything, but there was something you said. You said I wonder if there should be any limitation to freedom. I think everyone agrees that there should be, and I don't think there is any location or community in the world that promote absolute freedom. I mean, what is freedom at the end of the day? Freedom is absence of any limitations, and I guess it's a very wild concept in its essence. freedom means that I can do whatever I want, regardless of considering anything. You know, I can just go around and shoot people, beat people, and you know, do whatever I want. That's pure freedom. That's natural freedom. The freedom we see in animals, basically, they have.
Okay, sure.
Do you have a different definition of freedom? I'm so curious. What is the limited definition of freedom?
I mean, I guess in like essentialist terms, absolute freedom would be no limitation on actions, behavior, thought, whatever. Just no limitation on existence, right?
Yeah.
But I think that it's for the purpose of this discussion, I think it's more, we could consider like the narrower definitions of freedom or like conceptions of freedom. And I was thinking about it. I was thinking like, what do I think is the most important aspect of freedom? And I think a certain level of autonomy is quite important. And so a certain autonomy over your actions and over the direction of your life. I think it's very important to have that for an individual and to be able to exercise their freedom insofar as it does not infringe on other people's rights to their own freedoms, I guess.
I so disagree with that sentence.
Great.
That's such a liberal sentence, you know.
Okay.
Because basically, I mean, most of the wars in the world is because of the thoughts and ideas. So I don't think, of course, it's very easy to control the level of freedom, saying that, my freedom ends where your freedom begins. On a matter of physics, we can control that. But the wars around the world is not because of the physics. It's because of the ideas. It's because of what's invisible, basically, you know? Like I say, I don't like the way you think and the way you perceive things. And you need to respect me. And let's say we're in a society, a majority thinks in a different way from the minority. And they want things to go that way, right? So in that sense... the minority claim that you are damaging my freedom. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, physically nothing is happening, but it's just ideas. So is it even possible to do that, to follow that sentence? Because I don't think that sentence can ever be true, can ever be practically true.
Which one cannot be practically true?
Your freedom ends where the other person's freedom stops.
Okay.
Sorry, my freedom ends where other person's freedom begins. So let's say nudism, right? Nudism, like I want to be nude, I want to be naked. Am I damaging anybody? No, I don't think so. I'm not damaging anyone, but I'm damaging your ideology.
You could be damaging somebody.
Could you please explain how?
If you're nude just in the middle of the street and there's like, I don't know, a young child, you might be psychologically damaging them.
Is there any proof? Is there any paper done to show that we, by nudism, we can damage children's psychology?
I don't know right now. Like I can't really like
because
pull
I heard
it out.
This is a claim, you know, like everybody says that. Okay, let's keep it to locations that there are no child, right? Plus, I know that in nude beach in Europe, there are children there, and then everybody's fine.
I mean, I just gave you an example.
Yeah. So I don't really think that nudism specifically, or let's say in a club, can we have sex publicly in a club? There's no kids.
In Berlin, you can.
There are no kids. Yeah, well, I mean, think about it. I mean, for most people, it's just not okay.
Yeah.
And when you ask them, am I damaging you? It's like, no, you're not really damaged, but you're damaging what I believe is true. Mm-hmm. So I guess the problem is that the ideas, what's in our head.
Yeah, but that's completely tied to what your individual freedom is. There's no physicality without ideas. You know what I mean? Like there's no just like physical space that is like, this is mine and this is like my freedom. I mean, unless you're talking about like a lawn in America, then that is their space and their freedom. But like when it comes to like infringing on somebody's freedom, usually that's like a clash of some conceptions of things, some ideas, you know?
And the
like,
person's perception on
the
that
person's
thing.
perception and your perception, them clashing in some way.
Course.
Maybe someone's like, you know, maybe my idea of personal space is like this, you know? Maybe like right now, you know, if my idea of personal space is like a couple of meters around me, then you would be infringing on my freedom to have my personal space or something right now, you know? But like, it's tied to how I feel about personal space and how I think like it should be executed in my own life.
I see.
So it's still just an idea. You know what I mean? And
of course, yes.
All the why are you
Nothing.
smiling?
You just had a smile. That's why I smiled. Actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm smiling probably because I'm just a little bit all over the place.
I got it. Yeah, I realized that too.
It's okay. We're giving this a go. We just tried to have this.
Something you mentioned there. You mentioned that was interesting. You mentioned privacy. You know, privacy has become such a value in society. But I think again, privacy is not universal value. You know, I think that
no, of course not.
Media trying to make us believe that an individualist society's value should be everybody's society universally. I think it fails because for example, my Iranian grandma, she's proud. She lives in a neighborhood that she knows if someone has financial problem or not because they can help that person among the neighbors.
Yeah.
And that is absolute violation of privacy, but it's a value there because they live a collective life in a collective society.
Yes. No, I agree with you completely. And I think, I was also thinking about it, like how I think sometimes we want to like have both aspects of something, like we just want to have the positives from everything, but you can't. If you're choosing something, like you have to accept that you're giving up on something else. So for example, if you are like moving towards like a more liberal ideology, I guess, and you're living life according to that, then you're gonna have to accept that you're losing certain things that are only possible in a more like, I don't know, I'm not saying liberalism and collectivism are on opposite sides of the spectrum, but you're losing some things that you would have in a more collectivist, less individualistic society, and vice versa. Like when you're in a collectivist society, like a generally collective society, you also have to accept that you are giving up a certain degree of autonomy over like small things just because there's like judgment and like, you know, like there's just more awareness of like what you mean to the rest of society. Yeah. Rather than in more individualistic societies where you just like go along your day and do your thing and no one cares about you. Yeah. But it's like, I think we spoke about this before, and like when we're talking about big cities, it's like you can just die on the street and no one's gonna pay attention. And then if something happens to you on the street in a place like Istanbul, for example, like everyone's gonna gather around and be like, what is happening? And even if they're not even doing anything good, people are still gonna put effort into it and try and whatever. They care, because they don't see you as this like separate entity that's moving in just its own space, time, whatever, you know? But yeah, again, sometimes it comes with certain limitations. Like sometimes I do wish that when I was a teenager here, I didn't have to kind of exist in like the limitations that I guess Istanbul or Turkey in general can impose on someone a little bit. Like, I don't know, I don't always feel free to wear what I want to wear in Turkey, for example, you know, and sometimes it's not even like, I'm not talking about like some outrageous clothing that would be like considered crazy everywhere else, but you know, just having to think about what you wear, for example, is something that comes with more traditional value-based societies, you know, and what am I saying?
I have some really good ones. I want to mention this first of all, that personally I don't have problem with liberalism. I think liberalism functioned very well in Europe. I have problem with the universalist greed and thirst of liberalism to just go around the world. Now, one of the things you mentioned about the dress code in a collective society. Now, I think the problem is that we named the identity of this collective society traditionalism. We call it being conservative, but it's not really. This is the identity of society. The problem is when you promote individualist values through market and economy in a society that people don't have that identity, they end up having a mixed, confused identity that part of them want to be collective, part of them want to be who they are, that collective identity that they're from, and part of them, they want to promote some individual values, for instance. For example, many people, they want to get married in Turkey. They expect their family to support them, which is totally a collective concept. But at the same time, they want their family to respect their privacy. This is called identity confusion, I think. I see it as an identity confusion. It means that you partially you're still connected to your own collective identity that you're from. And on the other side, through the market, through economy, through the goods that are coming, basically, to your society, you learned values of another society that is totally in a different platform.
But why can't we create something new? Like a new framework?
I totally believe that. We need something new. We need to create our own thing. But to do that,
isn't that an example of people creating something new?
No, because right now this is manipulation that is happening through economy and through media, through market. This is purely. This is one of the biggest confusions for me in Turkey when I came. I think because Turkey is hit by market very bad, I guess. When I came to Turkey, I was seeing people who look, they're wearing style and fashionable clothes and stuff and representing I see fashion as an expression. It's a self-expression, way. And I think that when I saw people, I saw they're expressing themselves in a very modern way. We are modern. We have a modern identity. But when you get into interaction with them, no, it's too far from modernism. And it's not even bad. Not everybody should be modern anyway. You can still have a good society with a different formula. Why everybody should use the same formula? That's what I'm trying to say. And I think these people, I think collective societies, they need to build up their own identity. And I strongly believe, if you ask me for a solution, you haven't, but if you ask me for a solution, I would say philosophy. We need philosophy. We don't need more politics. We don't need political discussion. We need to discuss philosophy because we are very far from philosophy, and I guess philosophy can help.
What do you mean by philosophy?
We need to raise questions again on the very deep details of our community structure, of the identity of our culture. Where are we going? What is that? If you go around and ask people, what is the target of this community? We gathered to do what? What are we gonna achieve in the next 20 years? They don't really know what. Yeah. So I guess we need to discuss those questions again and again. And I think that one of the problems. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
You want to say something?
I keep trying to not lose
just
track.
Last thing, yeah. The last thing. The thing is, I see that one of the problems in this part of the world, in this region of the world, I don't want to name it, but the problem is politicians are also philosophers. Politicians, people who are involved with politics, they generate ideas, path, and then they execute it.
Yeah.
This is where in more developed countries, there are philosophers, there are schools of thoughts. They produce ideas. They produce the path for society, and politicians choose them and represent them and get vote from people. So I guess we need to separate philosophy and, everybody's talking about religion and secularism, religion and politics. I say philosophy and politics should be different. It should be parallel, but politicians should not be able to generate philosophy because they will be generating populist philosophy at the end of the day, because that's what voters demand every time.
So what's the role of politicians then in this context?
To execute.
Okay.
To do it. To
somebody
choose.
else generates the ideas and
yes, someone else will generate the idea. There will be different politicians. Each person will choose a school of thought, and then they will represent them, and people can choose. And politicians will not be responsible for the thoughts. Those philosophers will be responsible. Okay. Politicians will be responsible for the executive side of this story.
Okay.
And I think this is the formula we need in this region of the world, because that's what Europe is doing, I guess.
So then in your head, what is the relationship between this type of framework that you're suggesting to restructure our society?
How can we do it?
And freedom. No, what can those two concepts go together, or how does freedom, I guess, relate to what you just proposed?
I guess freedom. I mean, we need to. This word freedom is so beautiful, You know, people
It's so beautiful.
People get so sexy about it. You know, people feel so sexy about freedom. But at the end of the day, I think freedom of I mean, economical freedom probably is something, but make people very happy. You know,
like financial freedom.
Financial freedom, like that's
okay.
Most people want financial freedom, basically.
Yeah.
They don't want absolute freedom because they don't want they you know, they always say like, yeah, women are getting, you know, annoyed in the streets. That's freedom. I mean, human can be free to do anything if you let them be free. So you want justice, right? And justice is limitation of freedom. Everybody loves justice. So the balance of justice and freedom, I think, will give us a very good platform in society.
Yeah, no, I agree with that actually.
Do you say agree?
Yeah.
I wanna ask you something. The other day I was thinking of speaking of memories. We talked about memories.
Speaking of
memories, we didn't really speak about memories, but let's say memories. So the other day I was thinking of something. You know, we criticize ideas of traditionalism, but at the same time I was thinking about my childhood iftar memories. You know, it's Ramadan this month, and I remember that in the past we were gathering with family members. When I talk to Turkish people, they say the same thing. Like whole family, regardless of, you know, it wasn't a religious thing. It was just a family gathering. Everybody was gathering, and kids were fasting, and you know, older people were supporting them, giving them gifts and awards, and we were all sitting on a table. And one of the arguments was always that should we break the fast when you hear azan, or should we wait for azan to end and then we break the fast? Most Muslim families, they have such memories. When I talk to people this last 2-3 weeks, almost 80% of people say, yeah, we had those memories.
Really?
Now we destroyed it. We said, okay, let's just move on. This is tradition. This is traditionalism. Let's have a modern life. Now, what are we doing? What are we celebrating?
Nerede o eski Ramazanlar?
Gerçekten nerede ya? Yani what did we replace it with? You know? So memories, do you have any? I'm asking you. I want to stop myself. Enough. So, do you have any good memory of collectivism? I know you're Turkish
good
Russian.
memories of collectivism.
Yeah, good collective memories.
I mean,
family memories, relatives, you know.
Yeah, not so much memories. I'm just thinking like when I was younger, I would, because I'm technically Christian, right? So every time would be like in the summer in the village in Izmir. I would be just about to fall asleep, and then the drums would start for like to wake up, you know?
Yeah.
And I would get really pissed off when I was younger. I'm going to be honest. I'd be like, why? Like, usually I'm battling like a rooster who's like singing in the morning, you know, or like dogs who are barking. And now there's drums that just, because it's a small village and there's mountains around, that would just like echo back and forth until everyone's awake. Yeah. And I'd be like, why? I don't want this. But then, you know, next day in the evening, I would go and pick up like a fresh pide. That's the Ramazan pide. That's like the best thing ever. Like it's one of my favorite things on earth. So this is a great example, in my opinion, a wonderful example of. Let's vote whether it's a great one or not.
Yes.
It's a wonderful example of how you like. That is, I guess, a limitation, a necessary limitation on freedom. Technically, like, you know, I would prefer for there not to be drums when I'm trying to go to sleep, of course. But I want to also go and have the pide. Like, you know, like I can't just have one and not the other. Like I have to accept the society, the package I'm living in. And all of its like, you know, issues for me. But at the same time, all the great things that come with it that I really missed and lacked in America, in Canada, in England, and like wherever else I was, you know? So
chairs collapsing.
So so that's a nice little Ramazan memory. I don't really have that many Ramazan memories.
No, not Ramazan memories. Any memory of collectivism of the society, any memory.
I mean, literally every single day of
traditions.
existing here is just a new memory of collectivism. Everything that happens, like today,
Good memory.
today I got a coffee and there was a dog laying on the bench, and then I was just like watching the dog, not the bench, it was laying on like the chairs of the coffee place. It was like chilling next to the table. There was a dog on the bench, and then the trash man just stopped like in the middle of putting trash, and he just started waving at the dog, and he's like, hi, like this, you know? And then everyone's just like looking at each other. Like that thing of just recognizing what's around you is so collectivist to me. And just interacting with everything that's going on. It's not, and I noticed the trash man. Like, ask me if I've ever noticed a trash man in America. I mean, maybe those people like go around at like 7 a.m. Probably. You hear them, yeah, sometimes. But things just disappear, and and we've seen what can happen when no one's taking care of trash in Paris. You know, it's just because there's a revolution, there's no one taking care of the trash, so it's just piling around the streets. And that's when you become aware, like, oh, there's all these people who I actually depend on because they take care of me, and they take care of the city, and we all end up in this like kind of symbiotic system together where we're reliant on one another and depend on one another, but we kind of like forget about it sometimes, especially when it's in a more individualist leaning society. Like people just pretend like others don't exist, and like there isn't all these other people who are making their life possible, you know, and they're not interacting with the person who's making their Starbucks order in the morning. They just grab it and they disappear, you know, whereas here it's like in Turkey you can definitely feel that connection more, so you're never like that lonely. Like you can be lonely, but not that lonely where you just feel like a ghost.
The more you get into deeper Middle East, you really feel that you're never lonely. You never experience that. In Istanbul, you get to experience that actually, loneliness. But because the society is very, you know, capitalized.
Definitely. It is capitalized for sure.
Yeah.
I had other questions in mind, but I forgot them.
I'm gonna mention that one. You mentioned about that trash man and you know, not as a person. One of the points of Ramadan was this, to be honest, to have iftars publicly in the streets. You know, people were doing iftars in the streets, like, you know, big tables with food and everything, so everybody could come. Yeah, everybody, like homeless people, you know, those you know, workers, anybody who's hungry will come. They gather. Rich and poor, they share the food table. Yeah, they break bread together, you know, and that was the concept. I guess that we somehow focused on unnecessary details. Yeah, that was not even the point. That we lost the main point. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and you know, actually, on the other side, we could argue that freedom has to have certain limitations, because there's some people who define freedom or like think of freedom as like being able to do things that fulfill you, like as a self, as an individual, which is still very individualistic. But if you think about it, a lot of people are kind of naturally inclined to think about others and find that fulfilling. Like, not a lot, but a good portion of people find meaning in connection with others and helping out other people and whatever. So, like, if you think about it, then both are kind of tied into one another, because on the one hand, you need to respect other people and what other people want and how other people want to live in this like social structure that you're living in. But at the same time, being a part of that social structure is what is fulfilling you and, in a sense, helping you with your own personal freedom that's inside of you. Like the sense of, you know, having a meaningful life, kind of, which I think is an important aspect of freedom. But
just do not, I say, like, freedom, there should be limit for freedom, and then people should not fight for freeing themselves from their own culture as long as they don't have a new culture built for them. If you don't have an alternative, do not ruin what you already have. One of the things, for instance, Bayrams in Turkey. One of my experiences in Bayram time is that most of my Turkish friends, they leave the city, and I've never had the invitation to anybody's family, let's say. Why? Simply because many people are ashamed of their families. You know, they don't want to show their families. They feel like I don't have a cool family. I have this Anatolian family. Or somebody told me, a few months ago that I've got my family is like Black Sea people. Yeah, I don't want to you don't feel really cool with them. I was like, why? Why do you think like that? Like, please invite me to your village to Bayram. I want to see your village.
You just want to go to village.
No.
This is an ongoing saga.
You know what? Like, if you tell me go to Karadeniz or go to different locations.
Can someone please take him to Karadeniz? Like, it's just...
And if you tell me go there and visit as a tourist, I don't want to do that. But if you take me to a, very local family, and I want to see that life, I want to see that culture, and it's valuable. Please understand the value of what you have, of your culture, of your identity. Your identity is valuable. Your culture is very valuable. You are valuable. You are valuable.
This is our self-help episode.
Yeah. I'm just too
you are meaningful.
Aggressively, I'm telling them like, I love you. You know what? I love you.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yes. One last thing. Anything interesting of Russian collectivism, Russian culture? Because I have no idea about that.
I think Russians are so collectivist.
I know.
Russians are funny because they act like they're individualistic. They pretend and they exist like that. Like if you walk on the street, like people are not gonna look at you. Everyone's mad, like no one's gonna pay attention to like what you're doing. Oh yeah, Moscow is a huge city though. It's like classic example of a huge city. In some like more villagey areas, I think there's still, but that goes for villages everywhere, honestly. Like a lot of villages, you just are more tied together. But yeah, Russians act like they don't care. They really, really try hard. And they're mean. Honestly, they're just mean to your face. Actually, I went to Russia a few weeks ago for a weekend. And like, that's just, you feel it like as soon as you stop off the plane. Like, they're mad that you are not living in the country, for example. And you feel it at passport control. They just stare at you and they're like, where are you coming back from? And I'm like, Turkey. And they're like, why? I'm like, I'm Turkish. And then they just look at you and they're like, okay. Like they're just checking everything. It's like you feel the aggression and the hatred. But if something happens to you, everyone is gonna take care of it.
That's it.
Like if you are in need, people are gonna be there for you. And like it's just so normal. Like when I first moved to Canada, I didn't have salt one time, right? And I was like, now I can't like make
salt?
anything. It's just not gonna taste like anything, And then I was like, like when I was a kid, it was just normal to like go and ask your neighbor for salt, Just
right.
like,
I remember that.
And I stood there and I was like, oh my God, like, do I do it? And it was like a half an hour, like, pause and debate in my head. I was like, it's just so easy. Like, I know there's people everywhere around me.
Yeah.
They obviously all have salt. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? They're going to say, no, you can't have our salt. Of course not. Like, I'm going to meet someone, whatever. But in the end, I did it. And it turned out to be like a person from the school that I went to, whatever. They gave me salt. We never interacted again.
Yeah.
But the fact that I was like debating it so much. And when I was growing up in Russia, it was just so normal to like know all of our neighbors. And even in like the apartments we were living in and ask them for anything we needed. Like potatoes. So Russian, like Soviet.
Ezme alabilir miyim?
But yeah, like potatoes, salt, whatever. Salcha. Like, there's just that interaction with people around you. There isn't that crazy alienation where you're just locked into your own little cell in a box.
Yeah.
Like,
this is by the way, since you mentioned that, I just remembered to tell you there are some changes in my apartment these days, and we get connected. Like my upstairs neighbor, we started talking. My downstairs neighbor, also young people are in the apartment, and we started talking. And at the weekend, the electricity just ran off, and they texted me like we were texting each other.
Oh, that's so cute.
And that was so cool. I was like, Nice, guys. I like this collectivism. I like this connection between, flats and apartment and this collectivism.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Like, I've thought about this so much. This chair is really annoying me. But I've thought about this so much every time I lived alone in like a new apartment building in some random country. I was like, I feel so lonely, and like I would feel like, if something happened to me, like once I had this crazy stomachache and I was like, I couldn't even move, and I was like, I might just, like, if I died in here, it would take people like a long time to find me,
Yeah.
And that's so scary. And like, actually people like aging populations, that happens sometimes, like someone just passes away and no one finds them, which is so horrible.
Horrible.
But then I'm thinking, like, but there's people everywhere, actually. Like, the reality is that there's someone underneath, someone above, someone to the sides. There's all of us in these like little boxes.
Alone. We're alone.
But we're all alone.
That one is alone. This one is alone,
And we only hear like an occasional annoying sound where you're like, shut up, And that's the only interaction you have with your neighbors.
Yeah, true.
It's in your own space, in your own head, like, you're so annoying.
Yeah.
What? Like, why don't we interact with each other?
I don't say that to my neighbors. I love you guys. I love you so much. Please.
But then it's like when there is the opportunity to interact with a neighbor, you're just like,
I'm taking that opportunity. I'm always taking that opportunity. I'm like, there you go.
I take that opportunity too, but then I'm still like a little bit uncomfortable. Like I keep waving at my neighbors now. That's all we have. Just hi. And then the person's
we're gonna go
out the door.
We're gonna go get coffee with my neighbor tomorrow. Actually, we talked about it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so
join us. Join our apartment community.
The freedom to know your neighbors.
Is what would be my achievement? To invite one of my neighbors as a guest.
Oh,
to this podcast.
You should do that.
That would be so cool. Maybe 3 of us, we can do the thing.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Do that thing.
Anyway, guys.
Are we wrapping up?
Yeah, we're wrapping up. There's just bunch of Democrats over there,
The Democrats.
So anyway.
If anyone wants to hear a part 2 on freedom, I feel like
please listen to us on Spotify. I just want to mention one little thing that I'm not so certain about my ideas. I'm still thinking. And I might be wrong about everything I said, and I'm sorry. And also, I might change my opinion later. So I just want to mention that whatever I said is not going to be forever. All right? Okay.
I have the same thing.
Like I
completely agree.
Right?
I feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, that's how
It's just a little disclaimer.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Please send us email, info@metotalk.cafe.
Yeah, please... Yeah, please also answer what you think freedom is.
Yes, answer, write questions, comment, do whatever you feel like.
You should discuss that in the session. What is freedom? Have you discussed that ever?
I've been doing it for the last 2-3 weeks.
Discussing this?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, so you've had all this preparation. That's unfair.
Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up.
I bet you're using other people's ideas.
See you guys. We're talking.
Bye.
See you. Take care. So what do we say?